Welcome home, son.
But your scar...
I'll always have it. But the venom is gone. I'm healed.
The wildebeest stampede scene that made all of us cry represents 3 years of creative determination. Like master sculptors chiseling away at marble, animators crafted a special computer program to breathe life into hundreds of wildebeests thundering through the gorge. Every time Mufasa plummets to his death, we're witnessing countless hours of artistry compressed into 2 heart-wrenching minutes. This meticulous attention to detail extended throughout the film. Simba's whiskers alone exemplify the painstaking process, each one drawn separately on different pieces of paper. The task proved so labor-intensive that animators made a practical compromise. Female lions would appear whisker-free. The Lion King we know today was shaped by these behind-the-scenes solutions that nobody talks about. Did you know The Lion King was actually considered the B movie at Disney while they were making it? Yeah, that's right. The movie that's become one of the most beloved animated films of all time was basically the underdog project that nobody at Disney expected much from. When production started in the early 90s, Disney was working on 2 animated features simultaneously, The Lion King and Pocahontas. But here's where it gets interesting. The studio's executives were absolutely convinced that Pocahontas was going to be their next big hit, their prestige project that would follow in the footsteps of Beauty and the Beast. Disney put their top resources on Pocahontas because everyone believed it would be the more sophisticated, award-winning film. The most experienced animators went to that project, while The Lion King was seen as this weird experiment about lions in Africa they thought wouldn't connect with audiences. So The Lion King got handed to Disney's less experienced crew who weren't considered the studio's star players, and this created a unique determination among them because they felt like underdogs with something to prove. The production setup would make any project manager have a nervous breakdown with animation teams scattered across completely different locations. Some animators were based in California working on certain characters, while others were in Florida handling different parts of the film. The voice actors recorded from all over the world. Jeremy Irons recorded Scar's lines in London, while the animators bringing his character to life worked in Los Angeles, and the team animating Simba was based in Florida. Imagine coordinating all this in the early 90s before digital collaboration tools. They were sending physical drawings and voice recordings back and forth across continents. As if this scattered production wasn't challenging enough, the Northridge earthquake hit in January 1994. This massive 6.7 magnitude quake damaged Disney's animation building in Los Angeles. Many California-based animators suddenly found themselves finishing their work from home in 1994, when working from home wasn't anything like the streamlined process we know today. With these challenges piling up, nobody at Disney had high expectations for The Lion King. The B team was working on a fragmented production spread across different states and countries, some literally working from their living rooms after an earthquake, while all the company's faith and resources were being poured into Pocahontas. But these difficult circumstances created unexpected magic. The Lion King team's underdog status gave them creative freedom. They weren't under the same intense scrutiny as the Pocahontas team. This allowed them to take more risks and pour their hearts into creating something special. All those obstacles somehow pushed them to band together and create something amazing despite everything working against them. What's truly incredible is how spectacularly Disney's expectations were flipped on their head. When both films were released, The Lion King absolutely dominated at the box office in a way nobody saw coming. The film they thought would be their secondary release became the highest grossing traditionally animated film of all time, a record it still holds today. The Lion King has outperformed almost every animated film ever made, including modern computer animated blockbusters. Only Frozen and Toy Story 3 have managed to earn more, and they had the advantage of modern technology, marketing, and decades of inflation. While The Lion King's box office success shocked everyone, there was another battle happening behind the scenes that almost changed the movie's legacy forever. The emotional heart of the film, that beautiful love song between Simba and Nala, nearly disappeared completely. The Lion King without Can You Feel the Love Tonight would be unthinkable. Even worse would be seeing it as a silly comedy song instead of the romantic ballad we all know. When Elton John first came on board to create music for The Lion King, he had a very specific vision in mind. mind, he wanted to craft a timeless Disney love song that would capture the reunion and budding romance between Simba and Nala. Elton John viewed this as his opportunity to create something that would stand alongside classics like Beauty and the Beast and A Whole New World. He poured his heart into composing a beautiful melody that would perfectly capture that magical moment when the childhood friends reconnect as adults. But Disney executives had completely different ideas. As production moved forward, they became fixated on turning Can You Feel the Love Tonight into something totally different from what Elton John had envisioned. Instead of the romantic ballad between the two lions, they wanted to transform it into a comedic duet performed entirely by Timon and Pumbaa. The executives thought having the meerkat and warthog sing it to each other would be funnier and more entertaining than the emotional love song Elton had created. This dramatic shift in direction infuriated Elton John like a lion protecting his territory. His creative soul had been poured into crafting what he believed would be a Disney classic, only to watch executives try to transform it into a punchline. For Elton, this represented missing the emotional core of what makes Disney films so powerful. He fought with the ferocity of a composer seeing his masterpiece being dismantled, arguing that the movie needed that romantic moment to balance the action and comedy. Tim Rice found himself trapped in this musical battlefield. As the lyricist, he attempted to bridge these opposing visions, while executives constantly shifted between wanting the romantic version and the comedic one. Each directional change forced Rice back to blank paper and pen. The result? Rice rewrote the entire song 18 times, a staggering number that reflects the creative turmoil behind the scenes. The production descended into chaos as the song's fate remained uncertain for months. One week, Elton's romantic ballad would be approved. The next week, the Timon and Pumbaa version would take precedence. This carousel of indecision affected everyone involved in the production. Animators felt the pressure most acutely. With each frame requiring hours of painstaking work, they couldn't simply switch between drawing romantic lion scenes or comedic meerkat-warthog interactions whenever executives changed their minds. Their artistic process demanded consistency that this ongoing battle made impossible. This struggle over Can You Feel the Love Tonight embodied the classic tension between artistic vision and commercial interests. Elton fought passionately for emotional depth, while executives pushed for more child-friendly comedy. Neither side was wrong exactly, but their visions for The Lion King's success fundamentally opposed each other. Eventually, a compromise emerged that honored both perspectives. Timon and Pumbaa would bookend the song with comedic commentary at the beginning and end, creating a humorous frame around the romantic center. The main portion remained true to Elton John's original vision, a beautiful, heartfelt ballad showcasing Simba and Nala's connection. This solution preserved the emotional core that Elton had fought so fiercely to protect while incorporating the comedic elements the executives desired. Real lions make sounds that honestly aren't that impressive, while the musical compromise that saved Can You Feel the Love Tonight required careful negotiation. The sound designers faced a completely different challenge when creating Mufasa's iconic roar. They discovered something that might shock you about actual lions. Their roars just weren't intimidating enough for the king of the Pride Lands. Imagine the disappointment in the recording studio when the sound team played back their freshly captured lion roars. Everyone stared at each other with that sinking feeling. These actual lion sounds were higher pitched, shorter, and nowhere near as scary as what audiences would expect from the mighty king of the savannah. The majestic roar they'd imagined existed only in their minds, not in nature. This created a serious problem for the team. How could they make Mufasa feel like the most powerful creature in the Pride Lands if his roar sounded underwhelming? They couldn't use the actual lion sounds. They needed something that would make viewers physically feel Mufasa's power and authority. The sound designers began their quest for the ultimate roar by mixing different animal sounds. Tigers provided a deeper quality than lions, but something was still missing. Adding grizzly bear growls brought in that terrifying rumbling quality that makes your skin crawl. Even with these fearsome predators combined, they hadn't yet captured that extra element that would make audiences feel Mufasa's roar in their chest. Then came their most audacious idea. What if they added something mechanical, something with raw power that humans instinctively recognize as overwhelming force? The sound designers incorporated something entirely unexpected, the sound of an F-16 fighter jet flying by at high speed. This mechanical thunder, like nature itself being torn open, was exactly what they needed. Think about what happens when a fighter jet passes overhead. That deep, powerful rumble that vibrates through your entire body. That's exactly the sensation they wanted audiences to feel when Mufasa roars. By layering this mechanical sound beneath the animal sounds, they created created something that triggers a physical response in viewers. A roar so powerful you can almost feel the air vibrating around you. The final mix merged three distinct elements: the grizzly bear's deep growl providing the bass, the tiger's fierce snarl adding the predatory quality, and the F-16 fighter jet delivering that chest-thumping power that makes hyenas and audiences tremble. Together they created a sound that exists nowhere in nature but feels more authentic to our imagination than actual reality. This innovative approach reveals something fascinating about filmmaking. Sometimes creating something that feels genuine requires moving away from what's literally real. Our expectations of how things should sound often differ dramatically from how they actually sound in nature. The sound designers understood this psychological aspect and crafted something that matched our emotional expectations rather than biological reality. Next time you watch that pivotal scene where Mufasa rescues Simba and Nala from the hyenas, pay close attention to that magnificent roar. When that shiver runs down your spine, remember you're experiencing the carefully crafted combination of a grizzly bear, a tiger, and an F-16 fighter jet, all mixed together to create what has become one of cinema's most iconic and emotionally powerful sounds. A roar that doesn't just startle the hyenas on screen, but resonates deep within us as viewers, making us feel the raw power of the Pride Land's true king. When you think about iconic moments in animated film history, the wildebeest stampede in The Lion King immediately comes to mind. But what if I told you this 2-minute sequence that changed Disney animation forever took the entire production timeline to complete? While the sound designers were mixing bears and jets for Mufasa's roar, another team was locked in a battle against physics and technology just to make hundreds of wildebeests run convincingly down a canyon. The animators faced a seemingly impossible challenge. How do you make hundreds of digitally created animals run through a narrow gorge without them looking like clones or worse, passing through each other like they're made of air? This was the emotional cornerstone where a young lion watches his father die. The stakes were incredibly high, and the technical limitations of early 90s animation made it even more daunting. They couldn't simply draw a few wildebeests and copy them across the screen. That would look completely fake. Instead, they developed a revolutionary computer program specifically for this sequence. This special avoidance program allowed the wildebeests to detect potential collisions and automatically adjust their paths. The thundering mass of animals would surge toward each other, but then veer away at the last moment, creating the chaotic yet coordinated movement of a real stampede. Each hoofbeat seemed to shake the theater, the sound design amplifying the visual terror as dust clouds swirled in slow motion around the key emotional moments. The animation team knew that identical movement patterns would break the illusion, so they meticulously created variations for each wildebeest, some jumping higher, others bucking differently, some stumbling slightly. These subtle differences trick your brain into believing you're watching hundreds of individual animals rather than digital copies. When you watch closely, you'll notice how the dust kicks up differently depending on how each wildebeest's hooves hit the ground, creating a swirling haze that heightens the sense of danger. What's remarkable is that this sequence remained in production for the entire 3 years it took to make the film. While other scenes were completed in weeks, animators continually returned to the stampede, fine-tuning movements and timing. Every frame needed to be perfect because this scene carried the film's emotional weight. The sequence had to be convincingly terrifying so audiences would feel Simba's helplessness and Mufasa's desperation. If viewers were distracted by unnatural movement for even a moment, the emotional gut punch would lose its power. Watch how the wildebeests navigate the uneven terrain, adjusting their strides around rocks and ledges. Their collective movement creates realistic wave-like patterns that actual stampeding animals form. Each technical innovation served a narrative purpose, making viewers feel trapped in that gorge alongside the characters. This achievement is even more impressive considering computer animation was still in its infancy. The Lion King's team had to invent solutions to problems no animator had faced before, pioneering techniques that would later become industry standards. Their 3-year persistence resulted in a sequence that perfectly married technological innovation with storytelling power, creating one of animation's most emotionally devastating moments. Those technical innovations for the stampede scene weren't the only creative solutions the animators had to develop under pressure. Did you know there's a major physical feature missing from half the lions in the Pride Lands? This tiny detail they hoped audiences wouldn't notice actually tells us so much about the reality of hand-drawn animation in the 90s. Notice anything missing? They don't have whiskers. This wasn't an artistic choice, but a desperate time-saving measure that reveals the challenging nature of traditional animation. Drawing lions by hand frame by frame is incredibly detailed work, but when the animation team started started working on male lions like Mufasa and Simba, they discovered something unexpected consuming their precious production time. The whiskers became one of the most frustrating elements of the entire animation process. Each individual whisker had to be drawn on a separate piece of paper because whiskers move differently than the rest of a lion's body. When a lion turns its head or makes any facial expression, the whiskers respond uniquely to air currents and movements. This meant animators couldn't draw them directly on the same paper as the lion's face. Drawing Mufasa's majestic mane was already challenging enough, but creating separate animation layers for those thin whiskers on every frame was like a sculptor spending hours on details most viewers might never appreciate. With deadlines looming and executives already nervous about the project, the animation team made a difficult decision. Female lions would have no whiskers at all. This subtle omission saved hundreds of hours while allowing them to focus on the male lions who typically had more screen time and close-up shots. These resource constraints forced similar creative compromises throughout production. Remember the famous Hakuna Matata sequence where Simba grows from a cub into an adult lion? The original version had both characters and background changing simultaneously to show the passage of time. It seemed like a creative approach to show Simba aging while the environment transformed around him, but when shown to test audiences, something unexpected happened. People became confused by what was happening. With both characters and scenery changing together, viewers couldn't follow the transitions. The sequence meant to be a joyful journey through time became disorienting instead. The filmmakers had to rethink their approach completely. They decided to keep backgrounds consistent during each transition, changing only the character designs. This way, audiences could focus solely on Simba's growth without shifting environments distracting them. Like the whisker compromise, this practical decision made under pressure ultimately improved the final product while conserving precious resources. These kinds of creative solutions appeared throughout the film's production. The animation team regularly encountered issues that needed fixing or workarounds, color inconsistencies between scenes, proportion problems with characters, and other small details that sharp-eyed viewers might notice upon repeat viewings. In many ways, these limitations didn't just represent obstacles to overcome, but actually helped focus the animators' talents where they mattered most, contributing to the timeless masterpiece we still love today. So there you have it. The Lion King continues to captivate audiences over 20 years after its release, standing as a cultural touchstone that has shaped countless filmmakers and animators. What makes this film truly remarkable isn't just what appears on screen, but how the behind-the-scenes chaos, earthquakes, whiskerless lionesses, and fighter jet roars transformed into magic. These challenges forced creativity that ultimately enhanced the film. The Lion King isn't just a perfect movie, it's a testament to artists rising from the rubble to create something extraordinary under pressure. That's why it continues to roar in our cultural consciousness today, inviting us to look deeper at how the greatest art often emerges from the most formidable obstacles.